There was a time when the world forged men in a very different way, not by comfort, not by convenience, not by applause, but by silence, challenge, and responsibility. If you traveled back hundreds of years to the mountains of Japan, the deserts of the Middle East, the forests of Northern Europe, you'd notice something immediately. People were not stronger because they were built differently. They were stronger because the world demanded it. Life wasn't a game. It wasn't entertainment. It wasn't an endless scroll of distractions. Life was a test, a direct confrontation with reality. And the men who survived had to develop something modern society rarely speaks of anymore. The warrior mindset. Not violence, not aggression, not domination, but a way of living based on clarity, discipline, purpose, and honor. A mindset that held a man upright, even when everything around him fell apart. A mindset built from the understanding that pain is a teacher, not an enemy. That responsibility is a duty, not a burden. That comfort is a trap, not a reward. A mindset so powerful that even death itself was no longer the greatest fear. But today, we live in an era where every discomfort is avoided, every challenge is softened, and every struggle is medicated, numbed, or escaped. The warrior mindset didn't disappear because the world became safer. It disappeared because we allowed ourselves to be lulled into weakness. And that's why you're here, because something inside you knows, instinctively, that this modern world is shaping you into something you were never meant to be. You feel it when you wake up tired, even after a full night of sleep. You feel it when you catch yourself avoiding things you know you should confront. You feel it when you scroll endlessly, knowing it's draining your strength. You feel it in the quiet moments, when the voice in your chest says, you are capable of more, but you're not living like it. This script is not about motivation. Motivation fades. This is something deeper. This is a return to a way of thinking humans survived on for thousands of years, but abandoned in less than a century. This is about rebuilding the inner world that makes a man unshakable. This is the warrior mindset that modern society lost. The death of internal strength. Let's begin with something uncomfortable. Most people today are not weak because of genetics. They are weak because of environment. In the past, life shaped you. Now, comfort shapes you. And comfort, when given without limits, is corrosive. Comfort doesn't make you happy. It makes you hollow. It slowly removes every instinct a man needs. Resilience, discipline, patience, clarity, presence, emotional control, duty, mental toughness, responsibility. All the things warriors were once required to cultivate, because without them, you died. Today, you can live your entire life without ever developing a single one of these qualities. You can avoid pain, avoid responsibility, avoid challenge, and you'll survive biologically. But psychologically, emotionally, spiritually, you die slowly. Not physically dead, but internally dead. Your instincts fade. Your edge disappears. Your sense of purpose blurs into gray. You live, but you do not rise. And the warrior mindset is not about fighting others. It's about fighting this invisible decay inside yourself. The ancient code hidden in every culture. Here's a truth society tries to bury. Warriors existed in every civilization, not because men loved violence, but because without inner strength, civilizations collapse. From the samurai of Japan, to the Spartans of Greece, to the Maasai warriors of Africa, to the knights of medieval Europe, every culture had a system, a code, for shaping strong human beings. The details varied. The rituals were different, the symbols changed, but the mindset was identical. A warrior wasn't just someone who fought. A warrior was someone who carried themselves differently, someone who kept their word, honored their duty, lived with intention, controlled their emotions, trained their mind, sharpened their discipline, protected others, elevated themselves, mastered their fears. Warrior cultures didn't create strong men, they revealed them. They stripped away every illusion, every excuse, every weakness, until what remained was pure clarity. But today, we have systems designed to do the opposite. Systems that strip away strength and replace it with dependence, distraction, emotional volatility, passivity, fear, pleasure, seeking, avoidance, helplessness. We have comfort culture. We have victim culture. We have entertainment culture. And the warrior mindset evaporated because it has no soil left to grow in, unless you plant it yourself. The first principle of a warrior: presence. Let's start with the foundation. Before discipline, before honor, before courage, a warrior develops presence. Not mindfulness, not relaxation, not meditation apps and breathing routines. Presence means one thing: you are fully here. Your mind is not scattered. Your attention is not leaking. Your emotions are not dragging you like a puppet. Presence means you see clearly. You feel clearly. You decide clearly. Ancient warriors trained this constantly. They stood in silence. They practiced stillness. They held uncomfortable positions for hours. They honed their ability to focus on one thing at a time, because presence was survival. Today, the average mind is fragmented into 1,000 pieces. Notifications, scrolling videos, noise overstimulation, instant gratification, endless choices, zero discipline. Most people can't even sit alone for 5 minutes. They immediately reach for their phone, not because they're bored, but because they can't handle being alone with their own mind. A warrior mindset cannot grow inside a distracted mind. Presence is the soil. Without it, everything else dies. The second principle, responsibility. Modern society treats responsibility like a burden, like something unfair, something heavy, something to escape. But ancient warrior cultures saw responsibility as a privilege. You were responsible because you were capable. You were responsible because you were strong. Responsibility wasn't something you had to do. It was something you were trusted with. A warrior doesn't ask, "Why do I have to do this?" A warrior asks, "What would happen if I didn't?" And the answer is always, everything would fall apart. Your mind, your habits, your relationships, your discipline, your sense of purpose. Responsibility is the backbone of the warrior mindset. Without it, a man becomes soft, not because he lacks strength, but because he lacks direction. Responsibility gives weight to your existence. A man with no responsibility is a man who drifts. A man who drifts becomes a man who collapses. But a man with responsibility becomes a man with structure. And structure is what transforms chaos into clarity. The third principle, self-mastery over self-expression. Modern culture worships self-expression. Say whatever you feel. Follow your heart. Let your emotions lead you. Be your raw, unfiltered self. Warrior cultures believed the exact opposite. You don't express everything you feel. You master what you feel. You don't react to every thought that enters your mind. You choose which thoughts deserve your attention. You don't act on impulse. You act on principle. Where modern society says, just be yourself, the warrior mindset says, become someone worthy of being. Self-expression is easy. Self-mastery is rare. And here's the truth. If you express yourself before you master yourself, your emotions become your commander. And no warrior follows a commander that unstable. The fourth principle, pain is a teacher. This is where modern minds collapse. Most people today see pain as something to run from. Physical pain, emotional pain, failure, rejection, embarrassment, discomfort. But warriors across every culture understood something profound. Pain is not punishment. Pain is feedback. Pain reveals your weaknesses. Pain reveals your limits. Pain reveals your blind spots. Pain reveals your illusions. Pain is the chisel that shapes you. A man who avoids pain avoids growth. The modern mindset is, how can I make life easier? The warrior mindset is, how can I become stronger? These are not the same question, and they do not produce the same man. Where warriors begin before the armor, before the sword, before the rituals. Warriors were built internally, in silence, in solitude, in moments nobody saw, in choices nobody praised, in struggles nobody clapped for. The warrior mindset begins in the unseen world, in the decision to wake up when you don't want to, in the discipline to finish something even when nobody cares, in the refusal to betray your principles for convenience, in the courage to confront the truth about who you are right now, and the clarity to see who you could become. The warrior mindset is not dramatic, it's not cinematic, it's not loud, it is quiet, it is consistent, it is relentless, and that is why it is so rare today, because consistency is unattractive, stillness is boring, discipline is difficult, responsibility is heavy, self-mastery is lonely. But these are the ingredients of greatness. These are the foundations of real strength, and society can remove warriors from history books, but it cannot remove the instinct inside you that knows you were meant for more than soft living. To understand why the warrior mindset disappeared, you have to understand the system that replaced it. Most people blame technology. Some blame the schools, others blame the government, or society, or the media. But the real reason is far more subtle and far more dangerous. The warrior mindset vanished because we replaced challenge with comfort. And once comfort becomes the foundation of your life, your character begins to dissolve. Not all at once, not dramatically, not in ways you immediately notice. Weakness grows silently. It begins with small choices, procrastination, excuses, avoidance, indulgence, distractions, shortcuts. Little by little, you stop doing the hard things. Then you stop doing the necessary things. Then you stop doing anything that requires strength. And without realizing it, you become a passenger in your own life. The modern world encourages this. It rewards it. It even calls it normal. But ancient cultures viewed comfort with suspicion because they understood something we have forgotten. Comfort erodes the qualities that keep a person alive, and the same qualities that once ensured physical survival now ensure psychological survival. Discipline, courage, restraint, focus, patience, honor, duty, sacrifice. These are no longer required by society. So modern people do not develop them, not because they are incapable, but because the system never demands it. The subtle weapon, convenience. One of the most powerful forces shaping the modern mind is convenience. Convenience removes friction. Convenience removes effort. Convenience removes thought. But it also removes discipline. A warrior's mind was shaped by the necessity to act with intention. Every choice mattered. Every action had weight. Every decision had consequences. Today, Today, everything is one tap away. Food, entertainment, validation, escape, comfort. The modern individual is overstimulated, under-disciplined, and emotionally fragile, not because they are weak by nature, but because every instinct that once kept us sharp has been dulled by convenience. The warrior mindset can't exist in a world where every desire is instantly satisfied, because warriors are forged in friction, not comfort. The second weapon, entertainment. Entertainment is not evil, but endless entertainment is anesthetic. For thousands of years, human beings connected through work, service, training, storytelling, and purpose. Today we connect through screens. We escape into worlds we do not live in. We watch people we do not know. We consume experiences we never actually experience. And our minds adapt. Your brain doesn't understand content. It only understands this is easier than reality. And so the mind gravitates toward fantasy. Fantasy is lighter. Fantasy is comfortable. Fantasy demands nothing. The more you escape into entertainment, the more intolerant you become of reality. And reality is where warriors are forged. You cannot build internal strength inside a fantasy. You cannot sharpen your mind through passive consumption. You cannot grow while escaping life. Entertainment becomes dangerous when it becomes constant numbing, compulsive addictive, a replacement for challenge, a refuge from responsibility. A warrior does not reject entertainment. He simply refuses to be owned by it. Weapon 3. Emotional reward culture. This is one of the most destructive forces modern society introduced. Ancient cultures rewarded effort, resilience, consistency, discipline, mastery, character. Modern culture rewards feelings, outrage, validation, comfort, impulsiveness, victimhood. This is not judgment. This is psychology. When society rewards performance and discipline, people learn self-mastery. When society rewards emotion and vulnerability, people learn emotional dependency. The warrior mindset is built on principles, not feelings. Not because warriors were unfeeling, but because they understood that relying on emotion is relying on something temporary and unreliable. Modern society teaches the opposite. If you're angry, express it. If you're sad, collapse. If you're stressed, run. If you're offended, react. If you're afraid, retreat. A warrior sees emotions like weather. They come, they go. They do not decide your path. The rise of the path of least resistance. Humans have always been drawn to the path of least resistance. But in ancient times, the path of least resistance still required effort. Walking instead of climbing still required strength. Hunting small animals instead of large ones still required skill. Building a simple shelter instead of a complex one still required work. Today, the path of least resistance requires nothing. Nothing. You can avoid difficulty entirely and still survive, but you will not thrive. You will not grow. You will not develop any meaningful strength. The path of least resistance creates men who can't commit, can't endure discomfort, can't handle rejection, can't stay disciplined, can't regulate emotions, can't build consistency, can't control impulses, not because they are broken, but because they've never trained the muscles of internal strength. The warrior mindset disappeared because we created a world that no longer requires internal warriors. But your mind still does. Your spirit still does. Your future still does. The psychological collapse of modern comfort. There is something modern people don't realize. Comfort feels good, but it makes you deeply unhappy. Comfort gives you pleasure, but removes your pride. Comfort gives you ease, but removes your edge. Comfort gives you entertainment, but removes your direction. Comfort gives you safety, but removes your strength. The reason you feel empty, unmotivated, disconnected, or numb is not because something is wrong with you. It's because something is wrong with the environment shaping you. You are not built for endless pleasure. You are not built for constant stimulation. You are not built for passive living. Your biology, psychology, and identity were designed for effort, for tests, for growth, for challenge, for evolution, for responsibility. You were built for struggle, but modern society gives you comfort, and comfort without purpose becomes poison. Why men of the past felt stronger. There is a misconception that ancient men were tougher because they were physically stronger, but physical strength was only a small part of it. Their real strength came from doing difficult things daily, living by a code, having responsibility from a young age, having consequences for their actions being needed by their community, protecting others, enduring hardship without escape, mastering emotions through discipline, earning respect through action. Men today rarely experience any of that, not because society is bad, but because society is built for efficiency, not for human development. Warriors were built in cultures that demanded strength. Men today must build strength in a culture that demands nothing. This is why internal strength now comes from choice, not environment, and that makes it more meaningful. The identity crisis of modern men. The modern man faces a unique psychological trap. He is surrounded by comforts, but starving for purpose. He is safe physically, but fragile emotionally. He has access access to everything but feels connected to nothing. He is overwhelmed with options, but has no direction. The warrior mindset gave men a role: protector, provider, disciplinarian, leader, servant of something higher than self, operator under pressure, master of emotion, embodiment of principles. Remove that role, and men drift into confusion. They lose the internal architecture that gives their life shape. They become passive, impulsive, bored, anxious, disconnected, emotionally unstable. Not because they are weak, but because they are unanchored. The warrior mindset anchored men. It gave them a spine. Modern society encourages fluidity, softness, and emotional expression, which has value. But without an anchor, expression becomes chaos. A warrior is not rigid or unfeeling. A warrior is structured. Structure creates strength. Strength creates clarity. Clarity creates purpose. Purpose creates peace. This is why the warrior mindset is not outdated. It is needed now more than ever. The return begins with reclaiming your internal authority. You cannot control society. You cannot control the system. You cannot control the world, but you can control yourself. A warrior mindset begins with reclaiming internal authority. You decide how you act. You decide how you show up. You decide what you tolerate. You decide what you commit to. You decide what you endure. You decide who you become. In a world where external systems shape weak minds, internal authority is rebellion. Discipline becomes rebellion. Responsibility becomes rebellion. Focus becomes rebellion. Self-mastery becomes rebellion. A warrior today is not someone who fights others, but someone who refuses to be shaped by the environment that is softening everyone else. This is not about nostalgia. This is about evolution. Human beings were not meant to be domesticated. You are meant to be formed, not softened, forged, not pampered, directed, not distracted. This script is not about going backward. It is about reclaiming the parts of yourself that should have never been lost. And that begins now. Modern society believes strength is a pose, a performance, a curated image displayed through confidence tricks and motivational quotes. But warriors knew the truth. Strength is not loud. Strength is not visible. Strength is not even impressive. Strength is your ability to hold the weight no one sees. And today, almost no one can hold anything. We are overstimulated, under-disciplined, emotionally fragile, and mentally weak, but convinced we're enlightened. Warriors never confused comfort for wisdom. Modern society does. And it's killing us. But there is a way back, a system older than every modern self-help trend, a philosophy that shaped the strongest men in history. To understand the warrior mindset we lost, you must understand the 4 pillars that every ancient warrior lived by, and exactly why modern society abandoned them. Pillar 1. The war within is the first war. Warriors understood something that most people avoid. The real enemy is never outside. It's inside. It always has been. Fear, laziness, jealousy, insecurity, distraction. These are the true enemies. The battlefield is the human mind. Warriors lived by a brutal truth. If you do not conquer yourself, someone else will. This is why ancient warriors feared softness more than they feared enemies. Today, softness is celebrated. Comfort is normalized. Distractions are worshipped. But a warrior could not afford distraction. He could not afford emotional chaos. He could not afford weakness. Weakness meant death. So they trained the mind before the sword. A warrior who was untrained internally was already defeated. Modern society trains everything except the mind. We train opinions. We train outrage. We train validation seeking. We train emotional sensitivity. But we never train internal control. A warrior mindset begins with this understanding. If you cannot govern your inner world, you will be ruled by the outer one. That is the first pillar modern society lost. Pillar 2. The body is proof of the mind. Modern society treats the body like decoration. Warriors treated it like scripture. A strong body wasn't for aesthetic. It wasn't for attention. It wasn't for ego. It was for discipline. It was for mental structure. It was for spiritual alignment. Warriors didn't care about six-packs. They cared about whether their body reflected their honor. Your body is a living journal of your habits. It records every choice you make, what you eat, how you move, whether you fight or whether you fold. Warriors believed a weak body reveals undisciplined thoughts. A strong body reveals a trained mind, not because muscle is meaningful, but because muscle is earned. Strength is earned. Endurance is earned. Consistency is earned. Modern society glorifies shortcuts, hacks, convenience, efficiency, but a warrior mindset rejects all of that. A warrior knows if life becomes too easy, the mind becomes too weak. So they trained hard, not to dominate others, but to dominate themselves. The body was just evidence. Modern society lost this pillar the moment comfort became the goal. You cannot build a warrior mind in a comfort-first life. Pillar 3. Self-restraint is more powerful than self-expression. Modern society tells you, say everything you feel, speak your truth, express yourself, let your emotions out. Warriors believed the opposite. Control is strength. Impulsiveness is weakness. Restraint is mastery. A warrior never reacted emotionally because emotional reactions create vulnerability. Anger reveals your intentions. Fear reveals your limits. Envy reveals your insecurity. Sadness reveals your wounds. A warrior kept his inner world guarded, not out of coldness, but out of discipline. He understood that the person who controls their emotions controls the battlefield. The person who cannot becomes the battlefield. But today, emotional chaos is marketed as authenticity. People confuse emotional volatility with openness. They call overreaction honesty. They call impulsiveness passion. They call instability self-expression. And then they wonder why they feel powerless. Warriors knew that power begins with shutting up your impulses and acting with intention, not reacting, responding, not exploding, observing, not expressing everything, mastering everything. Restraint was not suppression. Restraint was leadership. Modern society teaches people to be led by emotion. Warriors trained to lead emotion. That is the third pillar we lost. Pillar 4. The path chooses you, but you walk it alone. Warriors lived by duty, not motivation, not excitement, not vibes, duty. A warrior did what needed to be done, with or without desire. Modern society is addicted to asking, how do I feel? Am I motivated? Does this resonate with me? Do I feel aligned? Warriors would laugh at these questions. They didn't wait for emotional alignment. They created alignment by moving. They believed purpose is not found. Purpose is built through action, through commitment, through solitude. And this is why modern people struggle to build discipline. They think they need support, encouragement, a community, a friend group, a system, a coach. Warriors knew no one is coming to save you. You walk your path alone. A warrior was not afraid of solitude because solitude sharpened his character. He didn't ask for the path to be easier. He asked to be stronger. Modern society avoids loneliness at all costs. Warriors used loneliness to become men of depth. That is the fourth pillar modern society lost. The core of the warrior mindset. The weapon is the self. If you remove all the rituals, all the armor, all the training, all the swords and shields, what remains? A man who has mastered himself. A man who has tamed his mind. A man who no longer fears life because he is prepared for it. The warrior mindset wasn't about fighting. It wasn't about violence. It wasn't about destroying others. It was about self-mastery. Life is the enemy. You are the weapon. This is why warriors did not break under pressure. Pressure revealed their training. Pressure revealed their character. Pressure revealed their inner world. Modern society collapses under pressure because people never train for it. They only train for comfort. A warrior trains for reality, and reality is hard. Reality is unforgiving. Reality doesn't negotiate. The warrior doesn't either. Why modern society could not maintain this mindset? Because the warrior mindset requires qualities modern society rejects: discipline over comfort, honor over convenience, restraint over expression, responsibility over blame, strength over validation, purpose over pleasure, solitude over attention. Modern people want the benefits of strength without the sacrifices. They want resilience without difficulty, wisdom without struggle, confidence without risk, identity without discipline. The warrior mindset cannot exist in a world built around ease, so it disappeared, not because it was outdated, but because it was too demanding. But here's the truth. The warrior mindset is not dead. It's dormant, and anyone can wake it, but only through pain, discipline, and self-confrontation. That's why most people avoid it, because becoming a warrior has nothing to do with swords or battles. It begins with looking in the mirror and admitting, I am not yet who I could be, and then doing something about it. The warrior mindset wasn't just philosophy. It wasn't just belief. It wasn't just attitude. It was practice. It was ritual. It was repetition. A lifestyle that carved strength into the bones. Warriors became warriors because their daily life demanded it. Today, modern life demands nothing of you. If you want strength, you must ask for it yourself, because life won't. This is where the path truly begins, not in theory, but in what you do every single day. What follows isn't motivation. It's a reconstruction of the ancient system, the system modern society abandoned, and how to rebuild it inside yourself. These are the 5 daily rituals that shaped the strongest minds the world has ever seen. Ritual 1. The sacred morning. Warriors began the day with clarity, not chaos. They didn't wake up and open distractions. They didn't start the day reacting. They didn't surrender their mind before sunrise. The first hour of the day was sacred. Warriors understood. The mind you start with becomes the mind you live with. Modern people begin their morning by losing control, scrolling, comparing, consuming, reacting. But warriors began with silence, breathing, posture, stillness, intention, not for spirituality, but for command. Your morning must be a declaration. My mind serves me. I do not serve it. If you win the morning, you win the day. If you lose the morning, you fight weakness the entire day. Ritual 2. The body as an oath. Warriors trained daily, not to look strong, but to stay alive. For them, physical training wasn't exercise. It was a vow, a reaffirmation of identity, a repetitive reminder. I am someone who does difficult things. They trained to push back against weakness, to sharpen their senses, to build discipline through struggle. Modern society views training as optional. Warriors viewed it as survival. If you want to rebuild the warrior mindset, you must treat physical struggle like a commandment, not when you feel like it, not when you're motivated, not when it's convenient. Every day, something must challenge you, not because the world demands it, but because you demand it of yourself. Your body becomes the diary of your discipline. Ritual 3. The practice of stillness. Warriors weren't frantic. They weren't overwhelmed. They weren't overstimulated. Their lives had moments of emptiness, silence, and internal review. What modern society calls meditation, warriors called knowing oneself. They sat with their mind to observe its storms, to see their weaknesses, to confront their impulses. This wasn't relaxation. This was self-interrogation. They asked, where was I weak today? What emotion mastered me? What fear held me back? What habit controlled me? Modern society avoids self-awareness because it's uncomfortable. Warriors sought discomfort because they valued truth over comfort. Stillness was their sharpening stone. Ritual 4. The cold honesty of the evening. At the end of each day, warriors confronted themselves with brutal honesty. No excuses, no emotional protection, no delusion, just truth. They reviewed. Did they act with courage? Did they stay disciplined? Did they embody their code? Did they fall into weakness? This was not self-judgment. This was self-correction. Modern society avoids accountability. Warriors hunted it because they understood. A man who lies to himself becomes his own enemy. Your nighttime reflection is where transformation happens, because awareness without correction is just ego. Warriors corrected daily. Ritual 5. The code of silent honor. Here is the most important part of the warrior mindset. Warriors lived by a code, a personal law, a standard, a set of rules they refused to break even if no one was watching. Modern society has no code. People act based on cravings, based on moods, based on impulses, based on temporary feelings. But a warrior acts based on one thing: principle. Honor isn't reputation. Honor is self-respect. It's the ability to look in the mirror and know, I did not betray myself today. That is the deepest peace a man can feel, and the rarest. Modern people want confidence. Warriors cultivated honor, and confidence was simply the side effect. This is the foundation of the mindset modern society lost. Not aggression, not dominance, not violence. Honor, discipline, self-mastery. How to rebuild the warrior mindset. Today, you cannot live like ancient warriors, but you can think like them, train like them, and build their internal strength. Rebuilding this mindset does not require armor or a sword. It requires 4 commitments. Commitment 1. Reject modern weakness. Weakness is normal today, commonplace, expected. The warrior mindset begins by refusing to be average, refusing to be controlled by the world's comfort addiction. You choose challenge. You choose discipline. You choose discomfort, because comfort will not build the man you are meant to become. Commitment 2. Build a mind that obeys. Modern people obey their emotions. Warriors train their emotions to obey them. This requires emotional discipline, internal control, mental clarity, observation over reaction. A warrior cannot be dragged by the storms inside him. He must stand above them. That begins with silence, stillness, and self-awareness. Commitment 3. Adopt a personal code. Without rules, you have no identity. Without standards, you have no direction. Without a code, you have no backbone. Your code is not written anywhere. You write it, and once written, you obey it, even when it's hard, especially when it's hard. That is how men become warriors in a world with no battles. Commitment 4. Walk alone until you are worth following. Warriors did not seek support. They did not wait for guidance. They did not look for validation. They walked alone, not because they were antisocial, but because solitude is where strength is built. When you walk alone long enough, you become someone others want to follow. Leadership is a byproduct, not a goal. The final truth: the world didn't lose the warrior mindset. You did, and you can take it back. Strength is not in blood. Strength is not in weapons. Strength is not in combat. Strength is the ability to govern yourself in a world that constantly tries to weaken you. Warriors mastered their impulses, their distractions, their fears, their emotions, their desires, their inner world. You must do the same, not because the world demands it, but because your potential demands it. The world may have forgotten the warrior mindset, but you haven't. That's why you're here. That's why you're listening. That's why you feel this. Because some part of you knows you were not meant to be soft. You were not meant to be afraid. You were not meant to be distracted, addicted, overwhelmed, and directionless. You were meant to be disciplined, sharp, powerful, and intentional. You were meant to be a warrior of the modern world, not with weapons, but with will, not with violence, but with mastery, not with force, but with unstoppable discipline. This mindset is not lost forever. It's waiting for you to reclaim it. And the moment you decide, I don't care how hard it is, I will master myself, is the moment the ancient warrior inside you wakes up again. And once he wakes, he does not go back to sleep.